Greetings viewer, welcome. So you're about to install a Rockwood 107 double pull handle and you don't want to make a mistake because Bondo is not going to save you this time. Well, you're in luck. The YouTube search algorithm has worked in your favor. Stay tuned. Here we have the Rockwood 107 8 inches center to center double pull handle that I'll be demonstrating for this barn door. It's a stained grade and no mistakes are allowed. You cannot make a mistake. It's not even an option. Let us unbox the handle. If you notice, precautions have been taken by the manufacturer to protect the finish by shrink wrapping it. When we open it, we should also take care not to just lay it on the ground. Put it on a cardboard like I'm doing here, paper, something that won't damage the finish on the handle. Here we have now two handles. They're exactly the same but mostly different. Two mounting screws and two Allen screws. The mounting screw now is going to screw into one of the handles, which will be on the outside of the room, and the other handle is going to sit over the head of that mounting screw, which will be on the inside of the room. That will be secured by the two Allen screws. We need to find the optimum setback for the barn door handle. This is going to be the distance between the handle and the frame when it's open and the handle and the frame when it's closed. Put a piece of tape on the door like I did here. Make a mark on the tape when the door is fully open and make a mark on the tape when the door is fully closed. Find the center point between those two marks. That is going to be the setback that you use for this barn door handle. It'll give you the same distance between the frame and the handle when the door is open, and it's going to give you the same distance between the frame and the handle when the door is closed. On my example here, my setback is 2.5 inches. I had a bunch of these to install, so I made myself a jig. You might have just the one door, you might have a lot also. Make yourself a jig. It'll help you from making a mistake. I always work from the center point when I do layouts on doors. I have the distance up and the distance down, always from my center point. That's my muscle memory layout technique. I don't go to the bottom hole sometimes, or to the top hole sometimes, or to the center point sometimes. You're gonna make a mistake. So whatever training you've been giving yourself to always go to the bottom hole, or the center point all the time, or the top hole all the time, follow your instincts on this one. But for me, I always work off the center point. On my jig here, I have a center point that I have 4 inches written on here that tells me I need to be 4 inches hooking the door bottom to that center point. That's the height I'm going to be using on all the doors. That way they're all the same location on the door. The setback that we calculated is going to be from the inside of that jig, not from the outside. Now remember, if you build a jig that you have a thickness on the end there, mine was 3/4 inch from the board I used. So the setback that we're supposed to use is from the inside. Clamp it to the door at the height that you're going to use to the center point for my example. Make sure it's tight against the edge of the door. Check it again. Make sure it stayed there and it didn't move when you're clamping it. Looks good? I'm going to drill it. Now when drilling out the holes in the door, make them a little bit wider than the fastening screw that you're going to use. You don't want a snug fit. You want a little bit of play. It'll help you line things up from the outside and it'll help you line things up on the inside. Drill halfway through one side and drill through the other side. Don't just drill through one side completely and blow the other side. These holes need to be aligned. All the drilling is over. That's it, just the 2 holes. If you see 3 holes there, you got a problem. We're going to start with the outside handles first. That is the handle that you can thread the mounting screws into. From the inside of your room, insert those 2 mounting screws through the hole you made and you'll pop out on the other end. Hand screw it together. Don't use any kind of power tool or a screwdriver yet. These things can be cross-threaded very easily. Get it going. Start the top, start the bottom. Then you can use a tool. Go easy using a tool. You don't want to over-tighten it to draw the handle or the bolt into the door. That'll make problems. That will leave us with just the inside handle. It's best to insert the 2 Allen screws now than when the handle is on the door. Get it started now, but don't screw it in so much as to where it's protruding into that mounting hole inside the handle. Look in there, make sure it's not impeding access. Get them both in there. Now we're going to place the handle over the 2 little knobs on the inside of the room. It's going to be a tricky fit. Tap it things up, tap things down, sideways, whatever to get it on there. And you want to make sure the handle is right up against the skin of that door. And also now, make sure the Allen screws are facing towards the frame when the door is open. You don't want to see the end of those, you don't want to see those screws when the door is open. And then you can start tightening those 2 Allen screws. You want it tight and snug so it doesn't wiggle side to side, but not so tight as to where it strips the head of the Allen screws. You might have to take it off one day. If you fully open the door, you should have equal distance between the frame and the handle as you do when you fully close the door. There you have it. You just install your double pull handle. Thank you for your time. Things to be careful of when installing the double pull handle. Make sure the frame has been completely installed. Level, plumb, stops are in, opening stops are in, closing stops are in. The reveal that you're going to leave the door when the door is in a fully open position, that has been established. All that needs to be done before you do anything handle-wise. When laying out for a handle, I always work to the center line. I don't want to be sometimes doing the top hole or sometimes doing the bottom hole. And next thing you know, my handle is too high or too low. I try to have a muscle memory of always using the center line and work from there up and work from there down. Split my numbers in half, equal numbers. So in this case, it'll be 4 up and 4 down. If you're just manually laying out each holes and you're not using a jig, put tapes everywhere. Put a tape on the top where the top hole is going to be about, put a tape in the bottom where the bottom hole is going to be about, and also have a tape in the middle with a CL marked on there so you can visually see the center line at all times and don't get distracted, come back, and next thing you know that center line becomes your bottom hole. Before you do any drilling, take that handle and hold it up against your layout to make sure it's lining up with the handle. You might have burned an inch and forgot. Is it a 1/4 inch off? Or is it an 8 off? Or is it looks about right? And if the door has a bevel, when you're laying out the other side, be aware of that your layout is going to be an 8 difference, depending on how much the bevel, usually about an 8. Hold a square on the high side of the door and measure your layout from there. That'll put you right across to the other side on the high side. You want to make the hole a little bit wider than the bolts you're going to use to secure the handle. A little bit of wiggle room, and remember, hand ties on that. Get that started by hand.